So 2019, it's the month of December, and with that, it's time to finally bring out the festive fragrances that I have in my collection. These are all fragrances in some shape or form, and in some way, they do remind me of the holiday season. I'm very excited to share this list with you, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin, I do want to comment on the reason why I chose these fragrances to make it into my video today. So, a lot of these fragrances I've actually worn around the holidays in previous years. So, with that, there's always that mnemonic association. There's always that conjuration of the memory that comes in, and they just remind me of the holiday season. And a lot of these I have a very positive association with. And so, inevitably, I'm going to wear them year after year after year. I also want to make mention of the fact that a lot of the fragrances in this list are bordering niche, and it just so happened like that. I find myself wearing a lot of my niche fragrances because I just think that they're done in a slightly better way. I love my designers, don't get me wrong. You've been seeing me review a lot of designers throughout the past 7+ years on this YouTube journey, but a lot of the fragrances in this list are niche. And there's also a lot of notes that are dependent or contingent upon me being reminded of the holiday season. So you'll see a lot of pine, you'll see a lot of green notes, you'll see a lot of spicy notes. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the list. I'm really excited for this one. These are not my top 10 winter fragrances, so please keep that in mind. That's going to be quite different. These are my top 10 niche, top 10 festive fragrances, and a lot of them just so happen to be niche. So, okay, let's get started. So the number 10 fragrance on this list is one that I really do enjoy. This is one that I imagine myself wearing by a fireplace. And by the way, by the fireplace is not going to be in this list. I'm not too crazy about that fragrance. But this is one that is very warm. It has a bit of like this honeyed vibe going on in here. But there's also a note of chestnut that's used in this fragrance. And this one by L'Artisan Parfumeur is called Méchant Loup, which translates to Bad Wolf. And so really interesting title. Really cool note breakdown, and it's made by one of my favorite perfumers, Bertrand Duchaufour, who has also helped me make a fragrance for my brand, which is called Navitus Parfum. I'm going to leave a link down below if you're interested, but I love this fragrance. Méchant Loup, very unique, and very happy to have it in my collection as well. The number 9 fragrance in this list is one that I purchased many years ago. I actually purchased 2 bottles of it because I liked it that much, and it's a sweet, cinnamon kind of a scent. It kind of smells like masala chai. And so I love the way that this one smells, truly. This one is called Chai by Baruti. I actually have the old bottle, which is called Untitled Number 2 by Magnetic Scent. They have since changed their name, but Chai by Baruti. A little bit of rose as well. Spicy, sweet, vanilla, decadent. It's just awesome. And it definitely reminds me of the wintertime, and it reminds me of the holiday season. Number 8 on this list is another, it could have definitely been in the top 5 depending on my mood. And as far as today's mood is concerned, you'll see my scent of the day today is actually the number 1 fragrance in this list. But this one by Parfums de Marly is called Hua Shan. And what I love about this fragrance is this sort of cinnamon apple pie. It does have cinnamic alcohol in it, but it has this apple pie vibe that is just creamy, sweet, bordering gourmand, spicy, but tastefully spicy, not overwhelmingly so. Awesome scent. If you haven't tried this one, definitely try it. It is definitely in the vein of like an Ambre Narguilé by Hermes. Also, there's a Gallagher Fragrances fragrance that smells similar to this one. It's called Rosé All Day. So there are a lot of fragrances that kind of compete in that same olfactory territory, but this one is just really nicely done, very well polished and fine-tuned. I enjoy Hua Shan by Parfums de Marly. Number 7 on this list is another fragrance by the company L'Artisan Parfumeur, and there are potentially a few others that I could have included in this list. I'm staring out into the distance because I have them all lined up on the top shelf there. Another one is Noir Exquis, and that one is a really nicely done fragrance, but the one that I've decided to include in this spot is Tea for Two. And this one is composed by Olivia Jacobetti, and this one is cinnamon and tea. It is so well done, but it's definitely a bold scent. In terms of a tea dominant scent, I know you think of fragrances like Gucci Pour Homme 2 or any number of other tea violet fragrances that come to mind, especially a lot of designers that I've smelled recently, but this one is definitely bold. You get a lot of cinnamon spice in here. If you're not a fan of cinnamon, just be careful, right? I love this one. one of my favorites, and I love wearing this one. I actually purchased this bottle since it's re-released, so it was discontinued for a while. I was working with my decan, and I'm so happy that it's finally back in production. But now I think there's a new bottle that is dark on the exterior. This one is actually the clear bottle, and so I don't know what kind of formulation it is or if they have been reformulated, but I love wearing this one. Definitely check it out. And that brings us on to the number 6 spot, and this is a fragrance that it's so expensive. I actually originally went in on a split of this fragrance with my good friend Freddie, and he was kind enough to let me keep the bottle, and I do have the old presentation for this one. So this is by Creed, and it's Spice and Wood. And believe it or not, it was about half full when I first got it, and then I wore a lot of it, and I even shared a little bit with a good friend of mine. But this one I love. It's exactly what the name says, Spice and Wood. It's spicy, but it doesn't depend on one particular spice ingredient. So there's cinnamon, there's the nutmeg, there isn't saffron to speak of, but it's a nice, festive, autumnal feel that is conveyed through this scent. And I personally really enjoy wearing this one. And by the way, it's also one of the longer lasting Creed fragrances that I have in my collection. I'm a fan of Creed, and this is one that just does things very well, very unique as well. And please check it out if you haven't done so. Just keep in mind, it's definitely going to be on the pricey side, even for the 1 ounce bottle. So that brings us to the top 5 for this list. All of these fragrances are remarkable, in my opinion. They are superb to my nose, and they are fragrances that resonate with my personal taste. Some of these were more recent acquisitions. Some of these I've had for many, 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 many years. And there's actually one designer that made its way to the top 5. Can you guess which one it is? If you can, leave a comment down below right now. I know there's one fragrance that always reminds people of the holiday season. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into the number 5. And the number 5 is a fragrance that actually smells like a designer fragrance. And I love the designer fragrance. It's one of my favorites, composed by Olivier Polge. This is I would call it the niche version of it, but it also smells really, really good. And it does feature a lot of natural ingredients. And this one by Initio Parfum, or Initio Parfum Privé, is called Rehab. And this one does have the vetiver in here. It's a spicy, sort of tobacco-ish fragrance that smells similar to Spice Bomb by Victor and Rolf. However, I do find Spice Bomb to be a little bit more airy and billowy. This one is a little bit more compressed. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but as far as, the way that I perceive it or the way that I imagine it whenever I smell it, that's kind of the vibe that I get. Really well done, spicy, pink pepper, a little bit rosy, a little bit cinnamony. Wonderful scent. I love Spice Bomb by Victor and Rolf, and so subsequently I also love Rehab by Initio. Number 4 on this list is one that I've been wearing a lot around this time of the year, and I have worn it maybe twice this winter, but I will be wearing it a lot more. And this does feature a note of pine. This is an indie level fragrance, but it's just blended so well. It also has a strawberry note in there. A lot of you probably already know what it is. And this one by Imaginary Authors is called Cape Heartache. I do have the older presentation for this one. The bottles, I think, have become a little bit more narrow, but I love this one. The notes are on the back, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. It has Douglas fir, pine resin, Western hemlock, vanilla leaf, strawberry, and the 2 imaginary notes in this are old growth and mountain fog. What a nicely done, accommodating, easy to wear pine fragrance that definitely does not convey an old world feel or a mature feel. Just very nicely done. I would urge you to try it. And that brings us to the top 3, and the number 3 fragrance in this list is a designer fragrance. This is one that I have been wearing for many, many years now. I actually wore it at a Thanksgiving dinner many years ago, and every time I smell it, it brings very fond memories. This one by Burberry is called London. And this one is a superb, spicy, fir green sort of a scent, and it's definitely reminiscent of potpourri. And so if you've smelled potpourri and just that amalgam of spices, you're going to get something very similar here. I really do enjoy this one. I'm a huge fan of Burberry London. And as a designer fragrance, I think it's becoming a little bit harder to find. It's certainly available, and I believe it's still in production. But in terms of it being available widely and readily at like Sephora's and Macy's, I haven't seen it as much, at least not at the stores that I frequent. But give it a shot if you haven't tried it yet. Really unique. That brings us to the top two. What I can say about my top two is my top two could have very easily been my number one. My number one could have been my number two, but it's all dependent on my mood. And as far as my mood for today is concerned, I definitely decided to go with my number one for my scent of the day, and just I'm smelling myself and it smells awesome. But my number two fragrance in this list is another one that utilizes the note of pine, but it does it in a way that's a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more dominant, and it doesn't have anything sweet in here like the strawberry note that you would find in Cape Heartache. But this one by Tom Ford, part of the private blend line, is called Redolessence. So you have the pine. It really just smells like a pine tree. It smells like the sap or the resin that you would get on your fingers once you've been carrying a pine tree. And it also has this incensey component, but just the abundance of the resins, and they're so warm and they're so meditative and so grounding. I love this fragrance so much. And every single winter I wear this fragrance and I am just never ceasing to be in love with it. I love this one so much, and if you have a chance to try it out, if you're a fan of these types of fragrances, this is one that certainly conveys a festive feel. And Redolessence by Tom Ford could have very easily been my number one. And that brings us to the number one spot. The number one fragrance is one that is very special to me. It's one that I wore a lot in previous seasons, and it's one that I have gotten to experience when the weather is cold outside. And it has a spicy component, but it also has this plethora of resins that you would also find in Redolessence. And I think the thing that I like the most about this one is just how bold and potent it is. The longevity is there, the presentation is gorgeous, just everything about this fragrance really impresses me, and also the uniqueness and the originality. That's very important too. This is from the company Thalmine London, and this one is called Imperial Crown. Now, this is a remarkably powerful, spicy, peppery, resinous, warm, ambery type of a scent. And I sprayed it on, and all I can smell is the pepper, but it's not like the type of pepper like Poivre Samarkand by Hermes that you smell it and it makes you want to sneeze, or Piper Nigrum by Lorenzo Villoresi, which kind of has like this clove vibe to it, kind of smells like a Thanksgiving ham. You're not going to get that with this one, but the spices that are conveyed in here and the warmth that is just exuding from the scent is one that I would certainly love to wear when the weather gets colder. And this is a fragrance that will 100% make it into my top 10 favorite winter fragrances of this season list. I mean, I'm so excited to wear this one more often. I definitely wore it a lot last year, and there's going to be no change this year. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Those have been my top 10 favorite festive fragrances that definitely convey this sort of wintry, holiday, autumnal feel. And if you've had an opportunity to try any of these, I would love to know what you think. I would also love to know what fragrances remind you of the holiday season. Leave a comment down below, and I always love to start a discussion and an interaction with my subscribers. If you're new to this channel and you took something of value from this video, I would love it if you could support this channel by subscribing to it. That's the only thing I ask you to do. That supports the channel tremendously. And please continue to watch my future uploads. It really means the world to me. I love you all. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.